LeBron, people get tired of talking about LeBron. There's a lot of miles on those tires. There's a lot of miles on those tires. And he's sat out some time because he's been injured. Um, you know, he's out with an old injury. That's what it is.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Yacht Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, segment 1, NBA, we get to talk about the teams, positionings, the standings. Segment 2, Real Life is Real. We'll talk about WNBA and what DBT is and the impact it has. In segment 3, not only will we talk a little WNBA, but we'll also talk some Unrivaled. But first, NBA Eastern Conference. As we tell you, the East is kind of settling in like Jello. You got Cleveland, Boston, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, and Detroit. There has been no change. As we tell you on the outside looking in, Orlando, Miami, the Hawks, and the Bulls. Hottest teams. Wait for it. Cavs, Knicks, Boston, Pacers. With us today, our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Robert, any thoughts on the East? Or we're just pushing the lawnmower down and making a turn?
I has it changed for weeks? I don't think so. I
No,
think this has pretty much been it for a while. And
no.
I still say that, the best team is Boston, and Cleveland is the second best team. And then from Cleveland, we go from Cleveland to, the Knicks are somewhere down here.
And
So,
you saw what happened when the Knicks played a good team.
yep.
And we tell you every week, again, we like Tibbs. Tibbs is going to run his guys in the ground. And the Knicks aren't very good because when they play a good team, they lose. So
Yep.
they beat all the bad teams. And then when they play a good team, they lose, which means you'll win your opening round game. And then you're going to struggle in the second round because you got to beat a good team 4 times. And we just haven't seen it all year. But national media's got to put up content. So we'll let them put up their content. So
Yeah.
Western Conference, OKC, Denver. That's me up, Denver. Memphis, Houston, Lakers, they're hanging around, and Clippers outside looking in. Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas, Sacramento, and Golden State, hottest teams. OKC, it was Denver, but the Lakers are also hot, and Memphis. Anything going on in the West that has caught your eye, sir?
Um, I've talked a lot over the past couple years about, if I'm OKC, I want Denver to be number 2 or number 3. And I think right now you're probably thinking the same about the Lakers. You want the Lakers to not be 4-5. You want them to be either number 3 or you want them to be number 6. Because I think you want to avoid them as long as you can. Let them go play, let them go play Memphis, let them go play Denver, let them deal with those guys and see them in the conference finals.
Yeah, well, I got to say, JJ's done a nice job. He has. Uh, he's putting together some really good schemes, and I watched the game strictly for entertainment purposes only against Denver, and I wasn't highly entertained. But even undersized, they ran some good stuff against Jokic. Now, again, when you play teams in a series, you got to do all of that 4 times, and now whatever you did is now on film. We can make adjustments. We can do whatever. LeBron and Luka are playing inspired basketball. It will still be a challenge. And you still have Rui Hashimori. You still have, these things going on. But hey, you played well. And also in the West, you have some teams now tanking. San
Well, and
Antonio lost Wemby. And some of the other teams are just going to kind of pack it in. So go ahead, Robert.
and I mean, again, LeBron, people get tired of talking about LeBron. There's a lot of miles on those tires. There's a lot of miles on those tires. And he's sat out some time because he's been injured. he's out with an old injury. That's what it is. But if JJ can give him time here and there where he's not playing 40, 42, 44 minutes a night, anytime he can do that, that's going to help them down the road.
Yeah. And to close segment one, PK Subban from the NHL cut an impassioned promo about why the NHL All-Star situation so much better than the NBA. And there has been a lot of talk this week about the face of the NBA. And we're going to get into that a little bit in segment two. But hey, PK, excellent promo, passion. Can't argue with anything you're saying, but the NBA's check's always clear. And they don't have to care until they do. Robert, I don't know if you saw the promo, but any thoughts on PK Subban's impassioned promo about why the NHL is better than the NBA?
No, he's 100% correct. And I don't think the NBA cares at all.
All right, and with that in segment two, we'll talk a little bit about Victor Wembanyama and deep vein thrombosis, and talk this through, help you understand what's going on. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast.
This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful antidotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today.
Welcome back to the iCoaches Podcast in segment two. Let's talk about DVT. It's not an injury, it's a condition. So Victor Wembanyama has been ruled out the remainder of the season due to deep vein thrombosis, which is a form of a blood clot in his right shoulder, and the Spurs announced this last week. The team said the blood clot was discovered when the 21-year-old returned to San Antonio after participating in his first main NBA All-Star game. So, this is not new. A lot of players have had this issue, but you're dealing with this like freak of nature. He's 7'6". He's on airplanes a lot. He's sitting a lot, and it's a circulatory thing. So this is different than Chris Bosh's situation, because Chris Bosh had blood clots in his legs and his lungs. And when you're on the types of blood thinners that Chris Bosh was on, it's just not a good idea to play professional basketball. So Robert, any thoughts about this and the impact it has possibly on the NBA moving forward and his career?
Well, I know that doctors are optimistic that he's going to make a full recovery, that it's a situation that they have to figure out how to manage. And I'm sure they manage it through, medication and that kind of stuff. And they can manage it. Brandon Ingram had same thing. So, I'm sure they can manage it. It doesn't come at a great time for the NBA, because the NBA, as we just noted, they're suffering some loss of viewership, because it's not all the games are all that good. There's a lot of bad 3-point shooting out there. And people tune in to watch Wemby because he's, as you said, he's kind of a freak of nature, and he can do stuff nobody else can do, and dunking like Michael Jordan in Space Jam, where his arm just keeps going, and that's all stuff Wemby can do, and not having him on TV, or not having him in your arena. I mean, the Spurs, I mean, their season's over now. I mean, they're just going to be like, yeah, okay, we'll keep playing, and wind up in the lottery, and hopefully, maybe we'll draw a lucky number or something. Um, and that's Adam Silver has talked about Wembanyama. He's exceeded the expectations we have, but we have to be careful about these top draft picks and how they progress in the NBA, because when we have really high expectations, sometimes they don't get met, because I mean, guys get hurt. Zion
Oh man.
Zion is I mean, Zion, what a freak of nature in terms of basketball talent, but the dude loves to eat, and he is apparently made of glass, because
Yes.
between the two, he's always hurt.
So Robert and I are around the same age, and I have a 16-year-old, and um, my first favorite player, Robert, was Dr. J. Uh, I tried to do everything he did on the court. I did. And then in the 80s, I liked Magic. I liked Isaiah. I was never a big Jordan guy because I liked the guys that were beating them and the bad boy Pistons and all. And then in the 90s, we had Kobe and Shaq, and I'm still mad at Shaq for not being the killer that he could have been. And then when you're in the business and you're coaching and you're doing all of this in the 2000s, the Tim Duncans, the David Robertsons, all of these things. Now I'm fast forwarding to today and how basketball is consumed. And I'm looking at how people were in schools. My son really doesn't have a favorite player like I did. The students that I work with really don't kind of invest in the NBA, similar to me. And when they have these conversations about the face of the league, Brendan Haywood made some comments recently that said the lead dog kind of lets you know what's going on. So Dr. J presented himself with a little bit of class. He's the doctor.
Yep.
Magic and the Jordan and the suits and the this, and the All-Star game was competitive and freezing out Isaiah and all. And then Kobe, just bless his heart, all he wanted to do was hoop and kill people. That's what he wanted to do. So now Brendan Haywood was saying that LeBron is the face of the league, and he's indirectly responsible for the lack of competitiveness that we're seeing. And I think that's a heavy, heavy weight to bear. But when you hear about the face of the league conversation, what do you think in terms of, is there a face? And then who's that next person coming up?
Well, first of all, I think that if you are saying that the face of a billion-dollar professional league is a 40-year-old guy in his 22nd season or whatever it is, that's a problem in and of itself, right? Because yes, LeBron is a great player and has been a great player for a very long time, but he can't be the face of the league because he's gone. I mean, next 2 years, I mean, we're probably going to see LeBron make his exit, probably, right? So I think, first of all, that statement is problematic just in and of itself. And I think casting all of the blame on LeBron for how today's NBA is perceived, I think that's unfair. That's unfair. That being said, when LeBron is in this all-star, and I hesitate to call it an all-star game because it wasn't really that, but he had agreed to be a part of the All-Star proceedings. And then shortly before, he says, no, I'm not playing. That's a bad look. That's a bad look, because I don't think anybody would have said anything. I don't think anybody would have cared if LeBron would have said, I'm out with being old, and they named somebody else to play, because that might have mattered to that guy, right? And as you and I have noticed, I mean, you can't make me care. You can't make me care. You can't make these guys in the NBA All-Star game care. And you know, I don't like that statement, but I don't know who is the new face of the NBA.
Yes, because the question is, can a foreigner be your lead? And I go back to Wrestling 101. I go back to booking, and Ric Flair, in my eyes, is the last living great champion, because he was the face of the NWA. He went from town to town, city to city, put butts in the seats. And now you've got a situation where, for WWE, not to go too crazy, Cody Rhodes, who is the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, is the face. He's the suited up guy. He could do the Today Show. He could do the Tonight Show. He can do all of that. And when you look at the NBA, they look unbothered. No one seems to want the responsibility that comes with leading. And the next generation coming in, Victor, you can't put that on some 19-year-old kid. Anthony Edwards, skill-wise, is one of your top 10, 15 players. But in terms of your media presence and getting Madison Avenue and Main Street and Middle America locked in, don't know if that's the way to go. You're going to push Cooper Flag down our throat and whatever, it's booking. But I really don't know who wants the responsibility to take that on. I just really haven't seen it.
And you already pointed this out, but you're talking about, you know, who are the I mean, when I think NBA, I think, you know, Jokic, I think Luka, I think SGA, I think Wemby, none of whom are American. And that's a problem.
It's a problem.
And I say, and it's a problem. It's a problem for the NBA.
Yes, because again, we're just booking a TV show. Because at the end of the day, sorry, it's entertainment. And people are not being entertained with your product. And even I, who I just went through my history of loving the NBA, during the All-Star game, I watched Saturday Night Live, man. And I had to watch SportsCenter to get ready for the show last week. So, yeah, and even with the dunk contest, a guy that's not even in the NBA is winning it. And, yeah, it's just, you just seem unbothered.
Well, and if they're unbothered, and I was listening to I was listening to somebody's podcast, and you know, and they said, if you can't be bothered with it, why do it? I mean, if this is what the NBA All-Star Weekend is going to be, why do it? Just give the players 5 days off. Just call it a mid-season break.
Yeah.
Just give 5 days off and call it good. You know, if you really need to do something, I don't know, have a G League All-Star game that you televise. I don't know, but no, it's
just a bad look, as we said before.
It's a terrible look.
And Mike King had me watching hockey. That's how good the NHL was, and that's how bad the NBA was, that I didn't tune in to your product. And Wrestling 101 says, I don't care who wins or loses, as long as there's an ass every 19 inches, we all win. And good luck to you guys. So in segment 3, we're going to talk WNBA, we're going to talk expansion, and a little bit of Unrivaled. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today.
Welcome back to the iCoaches Podcast in segment 3. Robert, we've got WNBA expansion notes. Boston, former NBA player Michael Carter Williams. The fact that he's a former player now means I'm really old because I remember him in college. He's hoping to get a WNBA franchise in Boston, whether it's through expansion or being a destination for a team that wants to leave. So you got Boston looking at getting a WNBA team. You also have teams coming in over the next 2 years. Golden State Valkyries are coming in. Also, Toronto and Portland are coming in 2026. And the league said it's going to add a 16th team in 2028. You also have other contenders, including Philadelphia, the Cleveland Rockers, the Detroit Shock, possibly coming back. Kansas City, Missouri, very interesting for that.
The Houston Comets.
They should never have left. And Nashville, Tennessee. So, Robert, should the WNBA, because again, this is still dollars and cents, stick to 16 and let it grow? Or should they use this as an opportunity to get to 20 and get an influx of money into the league? But do we have the talent to fill the rosters? I actually think we do. What do you think, sir?
I think there's the talent to fill the rosters because we've seen over the past couple of years people who are first round draft picks getting cut because there's no place for them, in a 12-team league. I think with the growth of the women's college game, I think there's plenty of talent. It's just a matter of whether people are willing to, and I think people will go watch it. And people will continue to watch games. It's just a matter of whether, whether the WNBA can put the money together to make it work.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Again, I was around when the ABL and the WNBA merged and so forth, and I would love to see a team back in Cleveland. I'd love to see a team back in Houston, the first dominant team that is never talked about. What those women did at the beginning of the era of the WNBA.
Cynthia Cooper and
Cheryl Swoops,
and
my
Tina
goodness.
Thompson. I actually saw them play. I think it was the second year, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. Those three women, they could ball, man.
I think they should strike while the iron's hot and see what happens with that. But they do have to be strategic because the money really isn't there yet, and you can't overextend. But if you've got owners and potential owners wanting to put money into the league, we'll always take your money. Always take your money.
Correct.
All right. Unrivaled. We're very happy Unrivaled is happening. The co-founder and player, Nafisia Collier, did a wonderful thing. She gave $100,000, half of her prize money, for winning the league's first one-on-one tournament, to her training, performance staff, assistant coaches working on her team, the Lunar Owls. I like the fact that the women don't have to go overseas. However, after the first couple of shows and episodes and first couple of weeks, the ratings kind of decline, which is a natural thing, happens in every industry. Any thoughts you have on Unrivaled, sir?
To be honest, I haven't watched. I'm not interested. It's going to be hard for them to get a foothold right now because you already have men's college basketball, you have women's college basketball, you have the NBA. I don't know if there's a viewership niche that you're going to be able to really honestly fill.
I'm glad you said that, because there are two schools, and I'd like to know where you are on that. WNBA plays in summer, and that's not basketball season. So should the WNBA go into the glutted market of fall and winter with football, NFL, NBA? Should they do that? Or should they still stay in their niche? And that's a lot of basketball. And I think Caitlin Clark's going to have a much better season this year than last year, because if you're a highly skilled college female player, you have just played 35 to 40 games. You got like 2 weeks off, and then you're going to play 35 to 40 games. That's a lot of ball. So what do you think about that? Because I'm glad you said it, because it's hard to get in the marketplace, because you got to change your viewing habits, and you got to stick around a little longer to get me to tune in on a Friday.
I think the worst thing the NBA could do, the WNBA could do, is move to the fall. They have been in the summer since their inception. I watched the WNBA in the summer. I think that's where, and I watched the WNBA. I watched the WNBA far more than I watched the NBA, because I prefer to watch college basketball. And that's just where, to me, that's where the WNBA belongs. That's their niche. But again, unrivaled, I just don't know if there is a viewership niche for them at this time of year.
Yeah. Because it unrivaled, again, we're happy they're staying, but this sounds like something they could do for All-Star Weekend as opposed to a sustainable kind of league. So again, we'll check that out, and we'll keep rooting for them. And this has been good, man. So on behalf of our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, I'm Dr. Keith Adams, saying thank you for listening and or watching the iCoaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sideline. Until next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The iCoaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the iCoaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the iCoaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at iCoaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the iCoaches podcast.